review and scrutiny by experts in your discipline. And only when referees give their approval is the paper accepted for publication. Now, yung reputation ng journals really depends on the integrity and standards of peer review. In fact, peer review is a fundamental obligation of all journals. No? But in the last 10 years, there's been a growing number of journal publishers and conference organizers whose practices are corrupting our research culture, undermining the credibility and integrity of scholarship. For a fee, your paper may get published in a journal or accepted for presentation in a conference, even when no real peer review takes place. This is business at the expense of scholarship. And there is a growing market for this, because of the increasing reliance on qualitative performance metrics that focus on paper citation counts, all the incentives, awards, the focus on the measures, on the metrics and the targets, gives less emphasis on quality of work and socially relevant outcomes. And I want to talk about this because this is a growing threat, and we need to bring balance back to academia and what we call the social contract between the university and society. Now, what brought the issue of journal integrity to my attention was an article published in 1996 by the American physicist Alan Sokal. No? Sinabit niya to sa isang prestigious journal. It's called Social Text. No? The title of the article is Transgressing the Boundaries Towards a Transformative Hermeneutics of Quantum Gravity. It was submitted, it was accepted. But a few months later, Professor Sokal revealed in another journal that he submitted that earlier paper really to test a hypothesis. No? Tinetesting lang niya ang intellectual rigor ng journal. No? Ang hypothesis niya, the journal accepts papers not on the basis of quality, but if the paper sounds good and if the paper flatters the editor's ideological perceptions. No? This is interesting because if you read the paper, wait. Nawawala ang cursor ko. Anyway, if you read the paper is absolute nonsense. No? Sokal argued in what we call postmodern language that a physical reality like gravity, is just a product of the mind. It's a social construct, and that quantum gravity has political implications. In 2009, an email again brought the issue of journal integrity to my radar. I received an email from the editor of a journal called the Antarctica Journal of Mathematics. Eh, inisip ko, diba, wala nga tao sa Antarctica kundi yung mga scientists na nag-research, possibly geologists. And ito yung sabi niya, Professor Fidel Nemenzo, if you are willing to join the editorial board member of the Antarctica Journal of Mathematics, then write me. And I looked at the website of this journal. It looked like this. It was strange. And yung mga bituin na yan, kumikinang-kinang pa. Kaya nagulat ako, anong klaseng editorial board to? Anong klaseng email to? Anyway, 6 years ago, the Australian computer scientist, Peter Van Plu, conducted an experiment. Gaya ko, o gaya siguro marami sa inyo, madalas siya nakakatanggap ng mga invitations to submit in this journal and that journal. So what he did was to submit, he was a journal called the International Journal of Advanced Computer Technology, kept pestering him with invitations. So he submitted this paper using two fictitious names. And the paper contained only 7 words. no? And this was the paper, this was the abstract. No? In fact, the paper had even nice figures, and it had a nice summary, again, using the 7 words. No? And the paper actually received a very favorable review. No? Sabi, excellent, excellent, very good, etc. No? Kaya nagulat siya dahil ang kanyang paper na ang laman ay 7 salita lamang ay tinanggap, sabi, with minor changes for publication in that journal. It just showed that the acceptance was computer generated, that no actual review process took place, despite a description of the review process in the website of the journal. Now, in 2014, a group of medical scientists from Harvard University submitted a paper with this title to more than 40 medical journals. No, there's a lot of medical journals out there, and they wanted to check the integrity of the review process. To their surprise, this paper, whose introduction read like this, was accepted by 17 medical journals. No? So clearly something was going on. A lot of journals, are accepting papers not on the basis of quality, but on whether they pay the APC, the article processing charge. So what is driving this this trend? Again, as I said, publication metrics. Metrics or publication counts are now major criteria in decisions in universities. When we hire, we promote, we grant tenure, and we give awards. So the pressure to publish actually creates incentives for publications of little scholarly value, because of the need to pad our CVs. There's also a natural market for predatory, what we call predatory publishing. So tinatawag na predatory journals are actually scam journals. The primary goal is financial gain, not academic scholarship. There's nothing wrong with financial gain, as Sir Raymond said. All journals, these are business enterprises, but they need to fulfill that fundamental obligation of scholarship, of peer review. These journals are called predatory because they prey on academics like us who are under pressure to produce publications. The authors usually pay for the editing, processing, printing, and marketing of the papers without the benefit of rigorous peer review, which is offered by legitimate journals. Predatory publishing is a corruption of a business model called open access, as discussed by Raymond. Ito din discussed ni Raymond. Of course, most open access journals are very good. And Raymond showed some of them. But there's a growing percentage of open access journals that are exploiting the business model to produce what we call predatory publishing, predatory journals. Again, the goal is not scholarship, but purely financial gain. What are characteristics of predatory journals? Usually, mataas ang acceptance rate. They usually employ aggressive solicitation strategies. They send spam email invitations. They even invite you for membership to editorial board. So there are times when the editorial boards of these journals are fake. And almost all these journals, there's minimal or almost non-existent peer review process. They also promise rapid publication. A lot of these journals use the words international, global, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary, because these words actually cast a wide net. So be very wary of email invitations to submit to journals, and invitations to join journal editorial boards. Always check the background information about the journal. Always check the background of the editorial board members. Always check whether the fees are clearly stated, and check the publication policies. Journals claim impact factors. Please verify. There are many ways of checking whether the impact factor of a journal is legitimate. Always check the website. A lot of these journals actually are littered with typo, grammatical errors, dead links, and boastful claims like leading publisher. Tingnan nyo kung saan nakabase ang journal, and look at the website design. If you look at the websites of many journals, you'll see a pattern. There are many white lists or lists that accredit journals. For open access journals, we have the Directory of Open Access Journals. Check that. If a journal is not there, then think twice before submitting. There's another a whitelist called the Open Access Scholarly Publishers Association. Check if the journal is indexed in prestigious indices such as the Web of Science, ang tawag dati dito ISI, Master Journal List, or Scopus. Basahin nyo ang mga articles sa journal so you can assess their quality. And always, if something looks fishy, discuss with others. This is an example of spam email. I forgot when I got this. I got this from a journal called Advances in Computational and Applied Sciences. Be wary of spam email like this. I got this from a journal, the Advances in Pure Mathematics, inviting me to contribute to a special issue on number theory. So these spam emailers actually do some research. They look at your field and entice you with emails like this. But beware when they employ flattery, ang sabi dito, due to outstanding contributions in the relative fields. We invite you to contribute. Huwag kayong magpapabola. These are standard techniques in soliciting into these journals. Watch out, again, as I said, watch out for the words international, global, multidisciplinary, interdisciplinary. I looked at this journal. It's called American Research Thoughts. And if you look at the welcome message, it is littered with these words. Again, these words are used to be able, because they want to cast a wide net. Always choose journals with focus. I looked at this journal, the British Journal of Economics, Finance, and Management Science. Its description, again, is too wide. It's supposed to focus on economics and finance and management sciences. But if you look at the topics that are covered, almost every topic under the sun is covered by this journal. Again, these are red flags. Beware of journals that focus on too many topics. I looked at the editorial board. Chinek ko to, Bansi Stewart. I found this journal by just looking at a list of possible predatory journals. And I randomly chose a journal not in my area of science or mathematics, but an area in business and economics. And I found this journal. So nakita ko, Bansi Stewart from the University of Baltimore. And this is what you do. You always check the background of the editor-in-chief and members of the editorial board if you don't know any of them. So I checked this Bansi Stewart. I went to the website of the University of Baltimore. Eto nakita ko, iisa lang po ang tao, ang faculty member sa University of Baltimore na nagngangalang Bansi. At ang pangalan niya ay hindi Stewart, kundi Sonny. So clearly, this journal actually hijacked the name of a legitimate academic, tweaked it a bit to come out with its own fictitious board of editors. A lot of journals will display metrics such as impact factors. Be very wary of this. Again, there are ways of checking whether an impact factor that is claimed by a journal is legitimate. Ito masyado po mataas. 2.889 for a journal that is writes like this. Well said that research is a never-ending field. There are journals that are called hijacked journals. Hijacked journals are legitimate journals that are hijacked by impostors. So hijacked journals are mirrored by impostors. May journal na nagngangalang Philippine Scientist at merong isang hijacked journal na nagngangalan ng Philippine Scientist. If you Google, you are led to another website of a journal bearing the same name, but which is purely predatory. So I looked at this Philippine Scientist website, and if you look at the introduction to the website, the writing is very suspicious. Look at the last paragraph. Tingnan ko naman saan pinapublish to, hindi sa Pilipinas kundi sa Seychelles. Alam ba niyo kung saan ang Seychelles? It's an island in the Indian Ocean, publishing a journal called the Philippine Scientist. This is the legitimate Philippine Scientist. It's actually indexed in the Web of Science, published by the University of San Carlos in Cebu City. This is a prestigious journal. It's a prestigious Philippine journal, and it's been around for some time. But obviously, its website is not as attractive as the hijacked journal. Another notorious journal is Asia Life Sciences. Pumasok to sa radar namin sa UP kasi maraming may mga colleagues na nagpa-publish dito kahit na ang kanilang paper ay walang kinalaman sa life sciences. At dati to, ngayon pinagbawal na. Ito yung panahong hindi pa alam ng mga ating mga kasama sa akademya na merong mga predatory journals. If you look at the contents of Asia Life Sciences, I took an issue from 2017, and I looked at the titles. Obviously, not all titles have to do with life sciences. For example, this one, relationship between group, emotional intelligence, and teamwork of software teams in India. Here's another one. It's actually a paper in graph theory and mathematics, obviously nothing to do with life sciences. This is a rather big publishing group. It's called the Science Publishing Group, and it publishes several very weak journals. One of them is called the Pure and Applied Mathematics Journal. I looked one that sounded like number theory, which is my area. When I looked at it, it's actually very funny. It had a very funny abstract and very funny results. For those of you who know a bit of number theory, to go from Fermat's last theorem to Fibonacci numbers is a huge illogical leap. So, ang nangyayari dito, ang problema nito, the contents of papers published in predatory journals are beginning to show up in the scientific literature. Kaya nakakatakot, Once it shows up in the scientific literature, it possibly contaminates the work of others, especially when they're cited. So, what is happening is that research culture and practices are being eroded. Because of the focus on meaningless numbers as a basis for promotion, tenure, and other awards. Now, we have predatory journals, but you also have predatory conferences. These are money-making scams with, again, very poor or non-existent paper review procedures. kadalasan maraming incentives sa mga ganyang klaseng conferences. Lalo pa nung siyempre panahon ng bago magpandemya. May mga sideshow, mga tours, siyempre nagbibigay ng certificates of participation. No? In some conferences, the paper presentation fee includes publication in a journal. This is very strange. In fact, this is very dangerous. No? Because the peer review, the review process in conferences and journals are very different. No, of course, in journals, they have to be more stringent. Again, predatory conferences usually carry the words international or global, multidisciplinary, etc. Again, these are bogus conferences, like this one in my area. These are money-making scams, and they prey on researchers who need to fill up their CVs with conference presentations and papers published in the conference proceedings. This is a notorious organizer of predatory conferences called the WASET, World Academy of Science, Engineering, and Technology. Ito, nag-check ako sa website nila, nakita ko to, International Conference on Global Biodiversity Change. It's scheduled for May 17 to 18, 2021 in Paris. No, pwede pa kayo mag-attend. Now, if you look at this conference and the paper submitted, your paper does not have to do, can be accepted even if it is not related to the conference topic. No? I look at the papers that have been accepted to this conference. No? So biodiversity and global biodiversity, but they have, if you look at the topics of papers that have been accepted, absolutely nothing to do with the topic of the conference. In fact, that conference is just one of hundreds of conferences organized by WASET for the dates May 17 to 18 in Paris. I don't know how they do this, but all of these conferences have almost identical websites, accepting paper presentations, paper applications for a conference fee. This is a notorious one. A lot, some people in UP have actually gone here. This was before we started warning them about these conferences. No? Kasi ang conference na to ay hosted by Harvard University. After some time, Harvard University actually issued a disclaimer. Ang sabi niya, wala tong kinalaman sa Harvard. They are just renting one of our rooms. But this conference, again, uses very aggressive solicitation techniques. It's called the International Journal of Arts and Sciences, but it is not a journal. It is a conference. Actually, it's a tour of the Harvard area. One of our deans actually wrote Jeffrey Beal, who is a scholar who monitors predatory practices in academia. Sinulatan niya, no? Ang sabi ni Beal, sabi niya, International Journal of Arts and Sciences is a scam. It is actually a travel agency that markets to researchers with travel money to spend. So when we found out about this, we started telling our academics, our professors, that be careful with invitations like this. This is the International Conference on Interdisciplinary Research. Again, these are red marks. Mag-ingat kayo kapag nakakita kayo ng salitang interdisciplinary. It is so interdisciplinary because it actually, again, casts a wide net. Again, this is very strange, because part of the paper presentation fee includes publication in a journal. Again, this is very questionable. I saw this amusing. This is an amusing advertisement for an international conference on education. Amusing because it almost shamelessly talks about academic tourism. At kung makikita nyo, sabi na, anong gusto namin dito? Sabi niya, syempre, generate academic professional relationships. Of course, conferences boost your morale and confidence. And the experience of presenting in a conference helps you clear your inhibitions of adjusting to a foreign environment. Pero natawa ako doon sa sunod, no, objective niya, providing a holistic experience of academic tourism, whatever that is. And if you look at the categories of in the conference participation, nandito yung published articles, PhD synopsis, you can be a listener, a co-author, but you can also attend in absentia. In fact, there's a corresponding fee for those who participate in absentia, which means that there are many fees, but probably the cheapest one is where you get only a participation certificate, which you can show to your superiors when you go back home. So you can get credit for that in your CV. I saw this website, an announcement for an international conference on discrete mathematics, and I decided to submit a paper for this. And this is my paper. The paper was written by Zorro ang pangalan ko and Dolphy Panchito. Obviously, everything in this paper in mathematics is pure nonsense. This is the abstract I wrote. And I checked everything from grammar to formatting, and checked the integrity of my reference list. No? In fact, I created all of these reference materials, no? And I invented an email from the University of Pila. Now, to my shock, this paper was accepted, and this is I'm showing you the acceptance letter. Happy raw sila makatanggap ng ganung klaseng paper, no? Pagkatapos nito ay nakatanggap na ako ng information about the conference, about which hotels they recommend if I were to participate, and of course, the table of fees. So my point here is that we need to protect academia, our research community, from practices like this. Now, of course, we need to build our research programs. We need to increase output. We need to promote scholarship. But we need to protect the integrity of our scholarship and research, the integrity of our academic standards. No? Again, the market for predatory publishers and conferences, no, is a creation also of our culture in academia, no, because we put excessive focus on meeting targets and counting numbers. No? Hindi na tayo nagbabasa, nagbibilang lamang tayo, no? Kapag tayo nag-evaluate ng performance. No? There's an economist, Goodhart, who said that metrics can be gamed. Ang sabi niya, when a measure becomes the target, it ceases to be a good measure. Now, I want to share some websites. In fact, I just chose two that can be very useful when to check, no, before you submit to a journal. No? This is called the thinkchecksubmit.org website. It's actually very nice. Its aim is to educate researchers and promote research integrity and build trust in research publications. No? Ang maganda dito, marami siyang tips and guidelines sa pagpili ng maayos na journal. Meron po siyang checklist, no? A list of questions to ask, no, before you submit to a journal. No? These are some of the questions. Marami pong questions, pero usual. Kilala ba niyo ang journal? Ito ba ay isang trusted journal? Ang journal po ba ay may kinalaman sa topic ng inyong area? Nakapagbasa na ba kayo ng article sa journal? Can you identify the publisher? Malinaw po ba na nakasaad ang review process sa journal? Ano ang mga fees? Ano yung mga bayad na charge ng journal? Kilala ba niyo ang editorial board? Ang journal po ba ay miyembro ng isang industry initiative kagaya ng yung directory of open access journals? Anyway, the website, the URL is very simple. It's think, check, submit. No, please check that. You learn a lot about this business of predatory publishing. Now for conferences, we have a similar website. It's called thinkcheckattend.org. Again, it gives you guidelines for choosing the right conference. It also provides a list of questions to ask yourself before you decide to submit your paper to a conference. Kilala po ba niyo ang organizers? Have you or your colleagues attended any of these conferences? Malinaw po ba ang fees? Have you checked the website? Kilala po ba ang mga scheduled speakers? Kilala po ba sila sa inyong discipline? No? Have you heard of the members of the organizing committee? No? Is the conference relevant to your field and interests? No? Malinaw po ba kung saan ipapublish ang mga presenters nito? At malinaw po ba ang gagamiting review process? No? Please check these two websites. There's actually a lot of websites out there that warn about predatory practices, but these are two very nicely organized websites. Now, how do we protect our researchers and institutions? Again, for the author, always perform due diligence when choosing a journal for your paper. If something is fishy, consult your colleagues. No? Remember, what is important is consulting your colleagues who work in the same discipline. For a research unit, an academic unit, maybe your department, you can draw up your own list of good journals and conferences. What is important is you practice self-regulation and review at the level of the departments and disciplines. Na. As a chancellor, marami pong humingi sa akin. Dati, nung vice chancellor for research and development ako, maraming humihingi ng listahan ng maayos na journals. Ang lagi ko sinasabi, hindi po ako ang maglalabas. No? Ang maglalabas po nito ay yung department. Sila po nakakaalam kung ano ang tama, ano ang mali, ano ang legitimate, ano ang fake. No? Dahil only at the level of the disciplines will you really know how to discern what are the legitimate publications and what are the illegitimate publications. Again, I think this is my last slide. I hope I've given you an idea of the dangers of predatory publishing and conferences. Thank you.